Your most memorable flight with British soldiers, and what made it memorable? I served in the US Army with the British Army more than a few times. So one of the jobs that we had in the airline I worked for, we had an aeroplane permanently allocated to the military to go and take people places, not to wars, but we take them to bases. And sometimes we flew people back. And sometimes we flew people back who had been in Afghanistan, for example, been in the war. They would go somewhere for 2 or 3 weeks to try and readjust, and then we'd take them back. And one particular flight was flying the Royal Air Force Regiment, which is RAF, boots on the ground soldiers. And they'd been to Afghanistan, and it was an unusual flight because we were returning them to their actual home base, not to a military airfield, and then they get on the coach and they go back to their barracks. Where they were based had a runway, and we were told to go direct there, which was odd. The reason was they'd had a pretty torrid time, and they'd taken some, casualties, and they'd lost some people. But they were all really cheerful. I mean, the best passengers you could ever have in the military. I mean, seriously. The Padre was on board, so he gave me a little service RAF Bible, which I thought, that's okay, we're going to be all right. We're not going to, God's not going to strike us down. Funnily enough, it was exactly the same Bible that my great uncle had as well. Aww. I was just like, wow, that's spooky. And we flew them into a place called RAF Wittering, which is where they invented the Harrier jump jet. So as we're coming into land, and we stop and we're pulling the reverse thrust, and I had a female co-pilot, first officer, and we're looking out, and all really close to the runway were families, kids, all the families and wives and everybody of all the soldiers. And they were all, they'd like, you're my hero, daddy, everything else. And it was very emotional. And we actually had to stop the airplane because my co-pilot was welling up, and so was I. So we're both trying not to go. I went, okay, we're going to stop. We're going to stop, we're going to blow our noses, make sure we can fucking see where we're going, and then do the job, because this is really sort of exceptional. But the last one thing you want to do is go, oh, it was so emotional, we ended up in a fucking ditch, right? So we dropped them off, and that was it. So that was one of the more memorable flights. Sort of things we used to do.